Only in modern comics do you fail spectacularly and get promoted to bigger and bigger projects. In 2016, Ta-Nehisi Coates tanked Black Panther. Then in 2018, he betrayed Captain America. Warner Brothers sees the wreckage and in 2021 says, perfect, let's hand him a Superman movie. Because entertaining customers just isn't in the equation. It's chasing headlines, Twitter likes, and NPR applause while readers walk away in disgust. And that disastrous sales curve that exposes Marvel's real priorities? We'll get to that. Plus the internal chatter that killed his Superman movie before it ever lived. Spoilers, it wasn't pretty. Picture this, it's 2016, and Marvel wants credibility for Black Panther. The movie's coming, the hype machine is revving up, and they needed someone they deemed important on the book. Someone who will get them on NPR. Enter Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Atlantic's golden boy. He made a career writing essays like, "This is how we lost to the white man." His signature writing move, reducing every complex issue to white man bad. You know, the kind of rhetoric that really unites the masses, appeals to those comic book readers. Marvel, of course, couldn't have been more excited. Press conferences, think pieces, the New York Times labeling Coates a landmark hire. Comics were finally elevating to literature, stories for sophisticated readers, not those comic rubes. Here's what those glowing profiles forgot to mention. Coates doesn't understand or particularly like heroism. He understands grievance. He likes to lecture those beneath him. And the mismatch between him and comic fans was about to blow up in Marvel's face. Write that down. It becomes a pattern. So how did fans react to Coates' idea of elevating comics? Let's just say the elevation performed a lot more like a nosedive. Black Panther hit shelves and, surprise, surprise, it sucked. Wordy and meandering. That was Comics XF being polite. Social media was far less kind. Did he forget this was a superhero comic? One fan nailed it perfectly. It's like getting a political science lecture with pretty pictures. T'Challa got sidelined in his own book. Action scenes read like UN committee minutes. Wakanda became Coates' graduate thesis about the future of African politics. Exactly the kind of riveting boredom everyone expects when they buy a superhero book. The sales numbers told the real story. Issue 1 rode the massive pre-launch hype. Then came the even more massive free fall. Shops cut orders, fans dropped it from their pulls, the Coates Black Panther hype collapsed faster than my drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. Not even Brian Stelfreeze's amazing art could save the comic. It was a giant turd. But the liberal press, oh, they ate it up because it was important, groundbreaking, necessary. And that, my friends, is why you can't take Marvel editorial anywhere. Any normal company would have looked at declining sales and pissed off fans and realized, we screwed up. Marvel looked at the same data and said, hell yes, we want more of that train wreck. July of 2018, despite every warning light from Black Panther flashing red and Coates' own thesis that America is fundamentally evil, Marvel hands him the keys to Captain America. You know, that minor character who symbolizes American ideals. What could possibly go wrong? Here's that sales curve I mentioned earlier. Issue number 1, 167,000 copies. Fantastic debut. Issue number 2, 61,000 copies. 100,000 copy collapse. Issue number 10, 36,000. Already under 40K. And that number matters. Issue number 18, under 30K. Another complete sales collapse. Why does 40,000 matter? Because for the previous 13 years under Brubaker, Remender, and even Nick Spencer, a run that turned off a lot of fans, Captain America rarely dipped under it for more than a couple of issues. Even bad Cap runs stayed above 40,000. Coates went 18 consecutive issues under it, but Marvel kept him on the book anyway, because apparently losing readers builds character. The writing was everything you'd expect. Steve Rogers, backup player in his own comic, ashamed of his own legacy, endless monologues about America's sins, a Red Skull modeled after Jordan Peterson, because nothing says subtle like turning "make your bed in the morning" into a Nazi slogan. And the finale, Red Skull's ideology defeats itself through conversation. No epic battle or supreme act of heroism, talking. In a superhero comic, peak 2018 Marvel. The kind of failure that will be studied by future generations because it's that stupid. And if you think that was the end of the line for Coates and superheroes, you haven't been paying attention. As the saying goes, the beatings will continue until morale improves. February 2021, Warner Brothers announces Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a Black Superman movie. The same guy who killed interest in Black Panther and Captain America sales is handed the single most important superhero in history. The fan reaction, equal parts swift and brutal. Are you insane? Did anybody at Warner Brothers actually read his comics? This will be insufferable. Meanwhile, the press almost passed out with delight. The Hollywood Reporter gushed about bold choices. Variety praised the visionary collaboration. All the usual suspects lined up to tell you why this was brilliant. Behind closed doors, a complete reversal. The project went straight into development hell, no updates, no progress, just silence for years, while the press insisted the movie was still happening. Then David Zaslav takes over Warner Brothers in 2022. Multiple industry sources say he looked at Coates' vision for Superman and dismissed it as, and I quote, too woke. That's right. A Hollywood executive looked at Coates' Superman and said, absolutely not. But they did forget to tell everyone that the movie was scrapped in the meantime. For once, entertaining customers and protecting heroes like Superman from ideologues with an axe to grind actually came into the equation. But why did his failures keep getting rewarded with bigger opportunities? The answer reveals everything broken about how these companies define success. Here's what Coates' story makes crystal clear. Marvel and Warner Brothers weren't measuring success by sales or audience response. They were chasing prestige and Hollywood clout. Think about their incentives. Coates delivered NPR interviews, New York Times features, university lecture invites, the kind of stuff Marvel editorial loves bragging about on social media. And when critics came knocking, they could hold him up as a literal human shield. Meanwhile, actual fans, the ones buying comics and showing up for the movies, were ignored. Dwindling sales? They must be racist. The real win was outing their own customers and getting mentioned in the Atlantic. And the cost? Devastating. Readers revolted, pull lists shattered, shops stuck with dead inventory. Superheroes turned into ideological sock puppets for the message of the day. And the pattern keeps repeating. Chelsea Kane, Charlie Jane Anders, Vita Ayala. Same playbook every time. Hire for headlines, ignore the feedback, and slander their own fans when it flops. Marvel had 9 years to learn for this. This isn't rocket surgery. Hire writers who actually love comics, put story ahead of lectures, set editorial guardrails that prioritize the character, not the politics, but that would also mean admitting they screwed up. And we all know that's never happening. Ta-Nehisi Coates never understood why comics are the best storytelling medium in the entire world. He used Captain America to spread grievances about America, to push politics and to generate headlines. But he never actually connected with the fans that loved the heroes. Marvel rewarded failure. Warner Brothers tried to repeat it, and fans got stuck paying for rhetoric instead of stories. The heroes deserve better, the readers deserve better, but as long as social media clout matters more than customer loyalty, the cycle never ends. So, did Ta-Nehisi Coates elevate comics to real literature? Or did he just prove that you can fail your way up indefinitely as long as you're saying the right things, and Marvel Comics can use you as a human shield? The sales curve already answered that question. Want to see how this playbook destroyed Mockingbird? Check out my breakdown of Chelsea Kane's disastrous run at Marvel, where even her own side turned on her in the end. The video is right here. There's also a link in the video description. I do appreciate the time, and remember, keep thinking critical.